From all over our region, this is Kaleidoscope. For years, capturing the good news, interesting places, and remarkable people doing their best. This is Kaleidoscope, presented by Cameron Video Productions.
But first, many towns in our area had booming industries in the past, only to be followed by slowing industry that resulted in vacant spaces and rundown neighborhoods. But now, one such area, the town of Johnsonburg, is having a comeback with their brick block project. First though, a little history on the area and this distinctive structure.
The Armstrong brick block was finished in 1890. And that was also at the time when everything was starting to move and groove in Johnsonburg, and all this building up had started. So Maylert and Lewis Armstrong were a big part of, they purchased the then paper mill in 1888. That's when the railroad came through and all the roads were starting to come in. They came from Lock Haven. So then they started the Armstrong Development and Improvement Company, their real estate company, which was to help the town to realize what it could be as all these land barons were coming in and building their homes. So the first project that real estate company would have done would have been this 45,000 square foot brick block. And there were 12 retail units on the first floor, and then 12 residential units, and then on the ends there are the 2 on the third floor that are more residential units. And these units were originally built as live-work units because their vision was to have a tailor come in and also live upstairs with his family, or someone that would have a newsstand or an express office, then they would also live up above. The first retail would have been an express office down at the Unit 1, which is down at the other end, and then on this end was the United States Post Office, and that's why you see here this pressed metal ceiling that is of course indicative of that time frame. But as we would go through, if we were to go through all the rest of the units, there were no other retail units that had this, this ceiling. And they were designed to be able to have brightness come in and then also with circulation. So they weren't typical New York style tenement houses. There were courtyards in between a pair of units. So then there could be circulation and also with the light coming in. This 45,000 square foot complex of buildings would have been the first outdoor mall in the United States. And why that is categorized as the first outdoor mall is because, not in this one, because this is where the United States Post Office was, but every other consecutive building would and does have, in most of them, still a door that would go through. And then the cantilevered arcade, which is outside here, is like more or less a long porch where all of the different shops would have been able to come underneath. So that also continues that line all the way down. And each of these buildings is 3 bricks thick. There's no wall joists, there's no framing. Everything was built from bricks, kind of like Legos. So all of these bricks would have been created in Johnsonburg at the Brickyards, which would have been the Somerset and Johnsonburg Brickyard, which also came then with Lewis and Maylert from Lock Haven. They brought their own brick company to be able to create all those brick needed in creation of all of these different structures in town. And then the stones that are the pillars would have been gathered and harvested from the avenues as they were cutting out the avenues in through town up above us. So that is what all these pillars are. It's a beautiful, well thought out building.
Such a neat building. Later in the show, we'll learn about the future of this building and meet the volunteers who have put so much time and energy into it. We'll be right back. Earlier in the show, we took you to Johnsonburg with its rich history in brickmaking and the paper industries. The Brick Block Project is working to restore a once active business area to its former glory, one brick at a time.
The Johnsonburg Borough is just helping the Community Trust facilitate the Brick Block Project, and that their function is to be the stewards of our downtown commercial historic district.
In 2020, the Johnsonburg Community Trust obtained the deed to this building, and it was, yes, in very sad shape. All these windows were covered up, there were drop ceilings. As would have happened in the 70s and 80s, there was different paneling that was put over, the walls. A lot of the storefronts were changed out. As you see outside, one of the original storefronts would be where the bakery is. And it's not that we would ever be able to recapture that, but rather re-envision what those facades would be. Getting back to 2020, we had to go through and we took 45 ton of debris out of this structure, and now that we have more volunteers, because the bulk of the work that is being done to this building and the build out in this unit was, the bulk of that was volunteers. We had to hire, of course, certified electricians, certified heating contractors, but when it came to restoring and revitalizing these spaces, it is volunteer work.
Previous director contacted me, see if I knew anybody that could locate some missing tin ceiling from the original ceiling. So that got my brother Rick involved, and we came down to see what was going on, and then from that point on, we volunteered our time to restore this unit, and then we went on to Unit 2, the bakery. Now we're on to Unit 3, and a lot of other stuff happening down here too. There were some water leaks in the ceiling that the tin was just deteriorated. You touch it, it'd fall apart. So I Bondo foam, so I reshaped everything, got up there with a little Dremel and tried to make it as close to what was there. And now there's parts up there I can't even find that I worked on. I don't like talking about that, but that's my ceiling. Well, it's a lot of hard work. People see this what it looks like now. They have no concept of how it looked before. And one of the things I always point out is we would not be where we're at now if it wasn't for that initial group of the trust members who came in here, and I think it was 45 tons of garbage that was taken out of here. Those people were the ones that make it to this point that we can do what we're doing now. Because if it wasn't for them, this wouldn't be here right now. So I gotta always give credit to that group. I was down here on the scaffolding working on the ceiling. It'd be dark out, I'd have the music blaring, and I'd just be down here. The people were constantly coming in. We opened up the windows and they seen light in here. So the energy built energy, and now we have a good group of volunteers that come in here every Tuesday morning, and that all stemmed from people seeing things being done.
Just clean the building up, do maintenance, try to refurbish it. You've seen the final, what can happen. It's like we got two units already done.
Every unit has to have walls, ceiling, and a floor. So when we get a business that comes in, that gives that letter of intent, if we have to build around that to make it specific for them, we can do that like we did the bakery.
This is a huge project. We started out with smaller grants. We did get a larger grant from Stackpole Hall of $35,000 and then smaller grants. So we had a little bit of money to work with, which would have been to our certified contractors. And then as we started moving as the Johnsonburg Community Trust, and they could see improvement as in the community of downtown and how hard we were working and all of the garbage and all of the debris that we had taken out of these units, they wanted to see the growth again. They wanted to make sure that their town was going to be able to be vital, to the future of Al County and the region. So then people started stepping up because there was what we affectionately call the bucket brigade, who went in this basement and took out tons of mud and silt that was coming from the roof drains. And we didn't even know there was a cement floor until they started taking, all of that out. And then it's like, oh my gosh. And even one of the architects that got involved pro bono with our nonprofit to help with this build out is from Johnsonburg, Jeff Perana. He lives around the DC area and is principal in a very large development group, and we are so lucky to have him. And then also Chris Boley out of Clearfield, Hughes and Boley. So they have really stepped up. So we have a lot of good people involved, and that has been very important and as part of our core group of volunteers moving forward. The more that people see done visually, the more people that come forward. And one of the big things with the now Johnsonburg Community Trust, I feel that has made a huge difference is our follow through, because they're seeing what we promised and it's coming to fruition, and it's all happening in a beautiful way.
I like to see every unit filled up with a business, an artisan business, a craft business. I don't want, where every town has one, I want it more personal.
I know it took them a while to get off the ground when they were taking their 48 tons of garbage out of here. There was a lot of skepticism of what they were going to do, how they were going to be able to get it off the ground. And when they started with the Welcome Center and now the bakery being open, I think it really turned the tide and everyone's really excited about what the future can hold.
Yes, there is a lot of excitement about this project. And after the break, we talked to the second business to take a spot there and what it means to her. Jessica Carnahan was one of the first business owners to set up shop in the brick block. She tells us why she loves to bake and why this location is important to her.
When I was a child, I would always bake with both of my grandmothers, which Kay and Rose, the name of my bakery, came from. Those are my grandmother's names. My grandma Kay used to do wedding cakes for everybody in the area. My grandmother, she used to be home when I would get home from school, and I would be in the kitchen with her every day after school making dinner for the family. So I always loved to cook. A lot of people in my family, we would always get together and have family dinners and things like that on the weekends. Then when I started to have children of my own and it came to like their birthday parties, I kind of fell in love with it again and started doing like all the treats and all the cakes and cupcakes for their parties. And then my friends started asking me, hey, will you do cakes and stuff for our parties? And I said, sure. And so on the side, on the weekends, I would do custom orders for people. And then probably like in the last 4 years, it really picked up. So then I started taking orders and doing custom orders out of my home. And then last year in October is when we opened the storefront here. It was like kind of inspiring that all the local people were volunteering their time to make a difference in Johnsonburg. And I know as like being a resident here and living here, I wish that there was more to do in the area. So when I was presented with the opportunity, I thought I want to like be a part of the positive change in Johnsonburg. So I thought that this would be the perfect place to start. It's been a huge learning experience, but like most of all, what I love most about it is meeting everybody in the community, because I didn't grow up in Johnsonburg. We moved here like in 2012. So meeting everybody and having support of the community has really been like what has driven me to keep doing it, because it's a lot different from baking out of your home into then taking on everything, having a storefront. He'll talk about like all the local shops that used to be here. He's like, you didn't have to leave Johnsonburg for anything. It was all right here, So I think that's the most exciting thing about it, is like my grandpa like telling me what it used to be, and like I'm really hopeful like for the future that it's just going to continue to be like that.
It does look like a good future for Johnsonburg. Good for them. And we are done. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Kaleidoscope. Keep up to date with Kaleidoscope on our website, or join the others who have liked our Facebook page. And as I always say, for a different view of our region, look at life through our kaleidoscope. We'll see you next weekend.